Hello everybody, long time no see, eh? Well, I've been busy. I've got 2 exams coming up this month that I've been studying hard for, but I thought I would take a bit of time out and bring you the first of many things that I'm going to review, starting with these Grafter Boots. And what you're looking at is one pair of genuine leather and one pair of synthetic leather. Other than that, the spec is the same, apart from a few manufacturing details that I'll go over. Now, what are these boots good for? Well, obviously they're not good for going out in. They're working boots, and that's primarily what I've been doing in them. And I've gone out in them, but mostly when these were new, I could polish them up and make them look shiny and good. And you get a boot that rocks both worlds. But anyway, so yeah, these. I mean, I've not had many work boots, but these are pretty good for house bashing. I don't know what they're like for site work. I don't imagine they'd be very good because you get all rubble and stuff in there. But for house bashing and stuff, they're perfect because you can slip them on and off as easily as this. I'll show you. And that's it. They're on. You're ready to go, run about, do what you want, and then they're off. So if you've got a house where you need to take your shoes on and off constantly, you're in and out to the van all the time like I am, you don't want to be messing about with laces and other stuff. That's why I went for this type with the, with the stretchy bit. Now there is a sacrifice to this because they're not as well fitting as a laced up boot, but you'll get used to them. I find that I can do most of the stuff that I do in these, running, jumping and all that other stuff. It's only when I come home at the weekends and I put on a laced up walking boot and I think, good lord, it's so much lighter and much more nimble. So yeah, if you're wearing these most of the time, you'll adapt and you won't notice. Now this pair of the leather, I ran for 12 months, and then I kind of put them aside and bought a synthetic leather pair. And they've updated a few things. There you can see there's the Amazon page for them. These are the latest prices for the leather pair, and you can see that these are a bit later. Mine have only got the back straps here, whereas they've got the forward ones, and these can be had for about 30 quid or so. In the real leather. And they've changed, one of the key things they've changed over the past year or so is this is the old style sole, and they've changed it to this new active step, as you can see on the left. It says there, active step. And mixed feelings about it. I think it is a more flexible sole, but I think it's a softer material. Like if you look, and squish that right in there. And on this one it's much harder. It's a stiffer sole. And what that means is that this will probably wear out faster than that, in my opinion. And if you look at the heel on this one, you can see this has been worn solidly for a year and it's started to go. This one's been worn solidly for 9. Hold on, let me get the right side to compare against. There you go. And this one on the right, the synthetic leather one, the later one, with the softer soles, been worn for 9 months, and you can see it's worn away more. You've lost more material. And obviously this is anecdotal and only between 2 pairs, but I think it's a valid point. And I think what they should have done when evaluating their sole is that they should have found somebody, because I imagine these are made third party and then sold to grafters, brought to grafters to glue onto the shoe as such. What they should have done is made this piece out of a harder material like what this is made of, and then keep the flexi bit up front for more nimble toe control, so you can corner a bit better as you're running, sprinting about and getting crazy. Now the synthetic leathers, I haven't got a 4D camera, but I can tell you they don't breathe as well, and they're smelly as shit, because all the sweat and filth builds up inside. Because they're a waterproof shoe, it'll stay in there, especially if you're running like I do, inner soles. What I run these shoal ones, you see that in there, and I do that on all my shoes. It's not anything to do with this. I mean, you would probably want to run inner soles in them anyway, just because the factory ones aren't that good. It's a £30 boot, but I run that in all my shoes anyway, because I'm in a trade that it's not a question of if it's going to destroy my knees. It will. So I do preventative things, and this is what I use. These, and all you do is, this is like a jelly. This is like a plastic jelly, and you cut this to shape to fit inside your, shoe, and they're quite good. And you do notice the difference, because I tend to find my feet and my knees ache if I haven't got them in. And then when I went over to these and started putting them in, which was around the same time as I bought these, I think it was like a month or two later, I put them in and it was like, wow, this is good. So I stuck with it. Now obviously, from what I said earlier, leather is the superior material. It will last longer. I mean, this has had less use, and yet you can already see I've worn through to the cap on these already. And these, they're scuffed, but they're not that bad. I mean, you can just hear the difference. I wouldn't say I polish these every day, but I do polish them when they need it. And if you do it right, it makes a nice hard, stiff, makes everything stiffer, more durable. Whereas with these, you can clean these and look after these, and what you would do, I'll pull it out here, is you use silicone grease. It doesn't have to be RS component silicone grease, you can buy cheap stuff, and all you do is you rub that on there, and that's how they say you should look after synthetic leather, but all it really does is it just makes it look glossy and shiny, and it helps aid with some of the waterproofing. It's not a hard wax layer like bloody shoe polish is. It's not actually building up and adding to the material there. Like if you see, I don't know if you've ever seen on TV, when the guards at Buckingham Palace, when they're before and after they're shining their shoes, and you see them, they get their riding shoes and they're all floppy, before they start polishing them up, and then when they finish, they can, literally do that, and they're really gloss shiny and they're rock solid, because all that material is built up from your polishing. That's what the polish does. And with this, you can't really do anything to it other than just, get the dirt off and make it look nice, and just make it look less crusty. As for what comes with these boots, the standard equipment, it's steel toe cap midsole as well, so you don't have to worry too much about loose nails. And you get a spec sheet with them, and I dug mine out here, and it says, it gives you all the specs and the EN numbers, which would be good to check, especially if you've got specific requirements or you've got a specific job in mind for these. And it's got things now, like the usual stuff like impact resistance and that. And then they also list its conductive resistance, which is nice. It says you can get 100 kilo ohm resistance. So what it's basically saying is that when you get electrocuted, the electricity is going to earth. It's not going to go to earth through your feet, and hopefully that means not through you, unless you're touching something else, like the wall or something conductive really, or another person, then it is going to go through you. But theoretically, if you're just touching live and nothing else, it shouldn't go through you and kill you. Now, this isn't, to say that these boots will save your life. They might do, but being smart and not getting electrocuted in the first place, that's what will save your life. But it's nice to know that they're built to that standard at any rate, because you can't, if, what am I trying to say? You can't choose when you're going to have an accident. It's all very well saying don't get electrocuted. If it's that simple, how come is it that people still do? It's not. With all the best will in the world and following best procedures, you can't always rely on those around you to be doing the same, and you can't always rely on yourself. There's nobody easier to fool than yourself. When you're working, you think something's switched off and it's not, and bang. So that is one advantage to it. They're waterproof, like I said. They're also like heat resistant and a couple of other stuff. You can go through this. I imagine they have this on their website. But if not, you can read it now with me if you want. Just pause it if the camera is actually good enough to see all that. And it's got some more stuff on the back here about its manufacturing things, what type of slip resistance you've got and all this other stuff, and it goes really in detail, and I like that. I like getting a good spec sheet with it. It just says some other damage here. Footwear becomes damaged, it will not continue to give, blah blah. It's the typical cop out, like say if that's showing, they won't necessarily guarantee the electrical protection just because, if you kick a live cable, this bit isn't going to be insulated. I don't know why you would, but you know, let's say if this comes into contact with life, the chances are it'll probably go through and into your body, or at least into your foot. And just simple stuff like that, they don't warranty. You know, if you feet were crushed to death, you know, and you had to be amputated, you know, your toes were amputated by a really heavy object, they wouldn't warranty this if they knew your toe cap thing had worn through, regardless of the difference that it wouldn't have made. So, you know, in a simple overview, they're good boots, and if you're just going house to house, you'll be happy with them. Now, a couple of the things I'm not happy with, you know, we've got past all the good stuff, is this shit here, this Dr. Martens look-alike, you know, thing they've got going on with the sole. I don't like it for two reasons. It makes it wider than it needs to be. Why can't it be, you know, trim in with the line with the boot? Why do you need this extra space here? It doesn't serve anything. It just makes the boot heavier, and it makes it harder to clean because you can't get in there very easily, and it just looks, it doesn't look good. Like, it just makes it look more trendy rather than more functional. And as I mentioned, the heel on the new ones, that is, the heel needs to be stronger, harder material, and they could improve their inner soles. I don't like this overhanging portion here. Obviously, they could have done one of two things. They could have made the sole wider to accommodate that, or they could have made it trim, you know, right into the side, and then it would overhang, but you wouldn't have this stupid shelf here that you've got to clean. And on these older versions, I don't like how, you know, I've had to, you know, I've got to go buy another pair if I want, you know, finger loops for the front as well. I should have put that on from the start, but that's just, you know, this is nitpicky stuff now. Now I'll show you what kind of distances I've been doing in these boots as well, to give you a better idea. I have a pedometer on my phone. I'll show you. Let's turn the brightness up. Alright, let's get the graphs out, see if I can get it to go landscape, or if not. Now what you're seeing here is just the typical sort of mileage I'm doing in the week. You see here on the 19th of October I've done 7 miles. That would have probably been in these, but if we scroll back, we can scroll back, as you know, to since Christ was a cowboy, because I've had this on my phone a while, and it's interesting data to look at. You can see here I've done nearly 8 miles, mostly walking. The red is running, the green is walking, and the blue is total. Yeah, 8 and a bit miles there. And so that's the kind of distances I'm doing daily. Like, obviously it dips up and down. Obviously on a Sunday I'm not going to be going as fast and as far as I am on a Monday and a Tuesday and a Wednesday, backwards and forwards to the van. And then for this is a gap here. I think this is when I was on holiday and I didn't have my phone on me, or I didn't have this running. And it goes back right back to August 2015, last year. That would have been when I first got these leather pair, and then I've been using them. I mean, I could have gone through this and tallied up the total amount of miles, but I don't think it's necessary. You see, sometimes the scale jumps up to bloody 20 mile, which is crazy. And yeah, so that gives you a bit of an idea, sort of, as to what sort of mileage we're doing in these. Typically each day I'm going to be doing an average of about 4 miles. If you factor in the weekends, we'll make it plummet downwards. So if you did a mean, I suppose it'd be 4 or 5 miles. You know, sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, but that'd be the average. So if you're doing 4 or 5 miles a day in them, you can expect to get at least guaranteed, out of the leather ones, 12 months of service life. And for, you know, 30 quid a year, that's not too bad. And obviously if you're doing less miles, it'll be, you know, you wouldn't have to replace them every year, provided you take care of them and polish them. That's one of the disadvantages of leather, is that it is it's a stronger and better material, but it requires a little bit more forethought on your part. Whereas these you can leave, because it doesn't matter, you know, if you rub them with silicone grease or not, they're still going to get scuffed and it's shitty. There's not a lot you can do about it. And you know, also the synthetics is also softer. And as it gets softer and softer as you use it, it's more prone to getting scratched and clawed at by things. And obviously, if you're doing more miles a day, if you're going, you know, if you're running a marathon in these, which I suppose you could do if you're mad and you like running a marathon in steel toe cap midsole boots, then knock yourself out. But you know, you might say if you're doing like 10 miles a day or so, if you're running around on a big site, big job, you're working long hours, you know, you might go through these sooner. It's just, that's the nature of the beast. I mean, I've not had any problems with any of the stitching. It's all still pretty good. Nothing to report. You can see a bit there starting to come out, but you know, on the whole, you know, can you see any other problems with it? Because I can't. One thing I've got to mention, I don't like this bead, how it's just a gap there. I'm sure they could do something with that and make it like a continuous doodad. But again, that's my only thing. Like on here, did they change it on the later ones? They did. Somebody spoke and, you know, listened. Then they listened. They said they didn't like a nasty cut on the side. This will be the current gen. This is probably what you'll get, and you can see this bead here, this bathroom sealant or whatever it is. And it's not got a nasty cut in it. It's got a little shelf there, which I imagine is, you know, to do with the casting of the sole, perhaps, or the bonding of it. But yeah. Well, saying that, you can see a little bit where the synthetics actually starting to pull out. I don't know. Yeah, it is. It's starting to pull out from the back there. I suppose that's where all the wear is, where it keeps bending forward like that. So you can see that. That's a data point for you. But other than that, I mean, even on the shitty synthetic ones, you know, the stitching hasn't really gone through the shitter. The only real problem is the actual material itself is just weaker, and so it's going to wear out sooner. You can see on this one's not pulled out. It's not that bad. You know, the points of wear are really the elastic bit, you know, where you get some of the stitching popping out on the other one. You know, this bit, because that's where your foot goes in every time and it's pulled. I suppose this could go. In fact, this has gone a little bit. You can see there, it's just, you know, looks a bit nasty, but to be honest, if the customer's looking that closely at your feet, you've got bigger problems than your footwear. And you can see here where it's coming away. But in my estimation, you wouldn't get that with the leather pair. I think that's just the material it's made out of, to be honest. So all in all, they're a good solid boot, and I'd recommend them. And you know, I think that's enough really. As of 2016, obviously, if they change and become shit as I buy more pairs, then I'll get the word out. And hopefully this is the first video of many things I'm going to review. I'm going to focus more on, to start with, just more things like boots and knee pads and stuff. And then we'll move on to some tools and some other stuff, I suppose. And yeah, now I'm saying that if you don't, you know, if you don't want to get these boots, don't get them. I'm not, you know, the end-all authority on them. This is just what I've been using. If I find something better, then I'll let you know. But as of the minute, that's my system, my way of doing it, and that's what I'm happy with. So yeah, goodbye and good luck, and thank you for watching.